There is a sickness in you that was planted long before you could speak. A sickness disguised as virtue. You were taught to smile when you should have bared your teeth, to obey when you should have questioned, to love being liked more than being respected. You were trained to become the dog. The dog that wags its tail for approval, that lowers its eyes for acceptance, that mistakes comfort for safety and obedience for peace. You were told that loyalty is noble. But no one told you who that loyalty serves. The truth is brutal. Loyalty is the first chain ever placed around a man's neck. They teach it young: be kind, be humble, be faithful. And by the time you realize it's a leash, it's already too tight to remove. You live your life chasing affection, waiting for permission, mistaking tolerance for love, and validation for purpose. You wake each day not asking, what must I conquer, but instead, who must I please? That is how a man dies before his body ever decays. The death of self-command, the quiet death. You see, the world doesn't reward obedience. It exploits it. Those who smile while commanding you to kneel only love the sound of your submission. They preach virtue to keep you soft and praise loyalty to keep you bound. Look around you. The workplace, the court, the street, they are not ruled by the kind, the patient, or the loyal. They are ruled by the silent, the calculating, the wolves who learned early that love is a leash and fear is freedom. You've spent your life trying to be harmless, hoping your gentleness will make you loved. But harmlessness doesn't protect you. It disarms you. You've been told to be good, but goodness without power is just decoration on a collar. The dog bows because it thinks humility earns protection. It feeds when allowed, sleeps when permitted, and defends only when commanded. It forgets how to think, how to decide, how to bite. And when danger comes, the master flees first. The loyal dog is left behind, teeth dulled by years of domestication, heart chained by dependence. It cannot hunt. It cannot fight. It cannot survive. It dies believing it was loved. But the wolf does not beg. The wolf does not serve. It hunts because it must. It leads because it can. It does not need approval, for its silence is its command. The wolf is feared not because it is loud, but because it can kill quietly. Its power is not in what it shows, but in what it withholds. That is what you must become. You cannot rise as long as you crave affection. You cannot rule if you fear rejection. The man who needs to be liked will never be respected, and the man who cannot be feared will never be obeyed. So here is your first truth: if you wish to survive among wolves, you must stop behaving like a dog. Stop apologizing for existing. Stop seeking softness in a world that respects sharpness. Stop mistaking kindness for strategy. The world does not care if you mean well. It only cares if you can enforce your will. You do not need permission to evolve. You need the courage to shed the skin of the obedient. There comes a moment when a man realizes that loyalty is not a crown, it's a collar. That obedience is not peace, it's paralysis. And that love, when traded for respect, becomes poison. You've been told that being dangerous makes you evil. They lied. Being dangerous makes you capable. It gives weight to your words, consequence to your silence. A man without fangs can preach morality all he wants, no one listens. A man with fangs doesn't need to preach. He simply looks, and the world understands. You have spent your life trying to be understood. The wolf spends his life ensuring he is not misunderstood. That is the difference. If you want to command power, you must learn to be comfortable with being feared, with being misjudged, with being hated. Because power does not bloom in affection, it thrives in solitude. The dog seeks company, the wolf seeks control. The dog wants safety, the wolf wants dominance. The dog asks to be loved, the wolf expects to be respected. You cannot be both. This is where your transformation begins, when you realize that the leash around your neck is not made of steel but of need. And need can be killed. You will not evolve by barking louder. You will evolve by learning when to stay silent and when to bite. Every man must pay for his loyalty. The only question is, to whom does the payment go? Most people spend their lives loyal to those who would abandon them the moment it becomes convenient. They sacrifice time, ambition, and peace for people who see them as tools, not allies. And they call that love. They call that friendship. They call that family. You have done this. You have bent yourself to fit inside the comfort of others. You have hidden your fire just to avoid burning those too fragile to stand your heat. You believed loyalty made you virtuous. But loyalty without judgment makes you a slave. You see, loyalty is not a virtue, it is a weapon. In the right hands, it can build empires. In the wrong hands, it destroys the builder. Those who taught you to be loyal never taught you to question whether they deserve it. They taught you that betrayal is evil, even when the thing you're betraying is killing you. They told you to keep your promises, even when those promises keep you poor, weak, and invisible. And because of that, you have spent your life obeying ghosts, old lessons, old fears, old masters. But the wolf does not obey ghosts. He owes nothing to tradition, to guilt, or to sentiment. He follows only one law, survival and expansion. Every move he makes serves that law. Every loyalty he holds is conditional. If it strengthens him, he keeps it. If it weakens him, he ends it without hesitation. That is not cruelty. That is clarity. You must understand this. Morality is a cage designed by the powerful to keep the weak tame. They call you disloyal when you stop serving them. They call you heartless when you start serving yourself. But that is what they fear, a man who no longer needs to be told what is right. When a dog is loyal, it waits for instruction. It looks to the master for purpose. It feels guilt when it disobeys. But when a wolf is loyal, it is strategic. It aligns only with those who sharpen it. Its loyalty is not based on love, but on gain. The wolf knows affection fades, interests remain. This is the philosophy the world hides from you. They don't want you to understand that loyalty is currency. Because once you learn that, you'll stop giving it away for free. You will start to ask questions like, does this loyalty make me stronger? Does this relationship move me forward? Does this person sharpen my instincts or dull them? The day you start asking those questions, you become dangerous. Because now, your loyalty is no longer blind, it is transactional. You are no longer a servant, you are a strategist. That is the moment society begins to fear you. They will say you've changed. They will say you've grown cold. They will say you're arrogant. But the truth is simpler, you've stopped feeding parasites. For too long, you've been conditioned to see goodness as softness. You've been told that cutting people off is cruel, that saying no is selfish. But a man who cannot say no is a man who will be eaten alive by those who can. You must become selective. Selective with your time. Selective with your trust. Selective with your loyalty. You cannot fight every battle, and you cannot save every person. Some are meant to drain you so that others can thrive on your exhaustion. That's the ecosystem of the weak, they survive by leeching off the unaware. A dog serves out of habit. A wolf serves out of strategy. So choose your alliances not with your heart, but with your hunger. If it does not feed your purpose, it will feed on you. Here's the law, never let loyalty to another make you disloyal to yourself. The world will guilt you for this. They will say you're selfish, manipulative, ungrateful. They will try to shame you into obedience because obedience benefits them. But remember, every time you bow, someone else grows taller. You owe nothing to the expectations that weaken you. You owe everything to the instincts that strengthen you. To evolve from dog to wolf, you must betray the version of yourself that believes loyalty is sacred. It is not sacred. It is strategic. It must be earned, tested, and, when necessary, revoked. The wolf is not loyal to people. The wolf is loyal to power, to purpose, to progress. It can love, but it never forgets that love is not ownership. It can serve, but only when the service leads to gain. The wolf knows something the dog never learns. You do not protect what you love by being harmless, you protect it by being capable. When you start thinking like this, your old world begins to collapse. The people who depended on your weakness will turn against you. The ones who used your guilt will call you heartless. The ones who lived off your loyalty will call you a traitor. Let them speak. Their words are only the cries of those who lost their control over you. The wolf walks alone because it cannot afford the noise of the herd. And when it does run with others, it runs only with its own kind, the strong, the focused, the self-possessed. They do not beg for loyalty, they exchange it. They do not make promises, they make pacts. That is the evolution. When you stop waiting for permission to protect your own interests, you stop being a follower and become a force. Most people will never understand this because they are terrified of being alone. They need the comfort of belonging, even if that belonging costs them their soul. They would rather be leashed than be lost. But not you. You are learning that solitude is not loneliness, it is power. That disconnection from the wrong people is the beginning of domination. That walking away is not weakness, it is warfare. Because every time you refuse to be used, you declare yourself sovereign. And sovereignty is the one thing the world cannot forgive. There comes a point when every man who chooses to evolve must walk alone. Not because he hates people, but because he can finally see through them. The dog fears isolation. It needs the pack, the noise, the constant reassurance that it belongs. It wags its tail not because it is happy, but because it is terrified of being forgotten. It lives off attention the way a parasite lives off blood. But the wolf understands the sacred silence of solitude. It knows that only in isolation does a man hear his own mind clearly. Only in solitude can he rebuild himself without the fingerprints of others. You see, the crowd doesn't want you to think. They want you to echo. They praise you when you conform and call you insane when you question. They celebrate your obedience and shame your independence. But the day you decide to step away from the noise, the transformation begins. At first, it feels like exile. You will doubt yourself. You will crave the warmth of the familiar voices that once guided you. But soon, the silence begins to sharpen you. You start noticing things, how easily people lie to themselves, how cheaply they trade their dignity for acceptance, how they confuse validation with purpose. You begin to see how much of your life was spent performing for people who were never even watching. Isolation is the mirror of power. It reflects your true strength back at you, or stripped of excuses, stripped of comfort. There is no applause there, no witnesses, no audience. Just you and the truth you've been avoiding. Most people run from that. They bury their solitude under noise, endless scrolling, constant company, fake laughter. They cannot sit with their own silence because it reminds them how hollow they've become. But if you endure it, if you stay in that darkness long enough, something happens. Your thoughts stop attacking you. They start obeying you. The chaos inside your mind begins to kneel. And for the first time, you realize peace is not found in comfort, it's forged in control. The wolf does not fear silence. It uses it. While others speak, the wolf observes. While others react, the wolf calculates. It moves when it decides, not when provoked. That is the difference between instinct and impulse. The dog reacts, the wolf responds. The dog panics in solitude, the wolf plans in solitude. You've been taught to fill every silence, to always be connected. But connection without purpose is addiction. It drains your time, your focus, your edge. You don't need more people. You need more purpose. The powerful man is not the one who commands crowds, it's the one who can stand apart from them and remain complete. He is not addicted to belonging because he already belongs to himself. When you start to build that inner world, when you find comfort in your own company, you become untouchable. Because now, no one can manipulate you through loneliness. They can withdraw affection, attention, approval, but you no longer starve without them. You've learned to feed on purpose, not praise. That's what terrifies them most. A man who needs nothing cannot be controlled. You become unpredictable, unmovable, unreadable. They can insult you, ignore you, exclude you, and you remain unmoved. Because your value no longer depends on their validation. Isolation gives you clarity, but it also gives you danger. Because when a man learns to be alone, he becomes difficult to deceive. He starts recognizing manipulation in every smile, weakness in every promise, and hunger in every compliment. He sees how people use affection as currency, how pity is disguised as care, how advice is often just disguised control. And once you see that, you can never unsee it. You stop explaining yourself. You stop arguing with fools. You stop needing to be understood. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer beg, you command. That's when the world begins to whisper your name differently. Not as a follower, but as a threat. Understand this, isolation is not about cutting everyone off. It's about mastering the space between dependence and detachment. It's about learning to choose company, not crave it. It's about realizing that solitude is not punishment, it's preparation. Every great strategist, every ruler, every manipulator of history spent years in silence before they ever spoke a single powerful word. Power is born in stillness, not in noise. The wolf is silent not because it is shy, but because it knows its silence is louder than the dog's barking. That silence becomes your shield. It hides your intentions, conceals your emotions, and amplifies your mystery. The less you reveal, the more they imagine. The more they imagine, the more they fear. You are not meant to be understood, you are meant to be respected. And sometimes, the only way to be respected is to disappear until your name becomes a rumor. When you return, you are no longer one of them. You become something else, sharper, colder, untouchable. You speak less, move slower, observe deeper. Your words carry weight because you no longer waste them. That is the art of isolation, to master yourself so completely that the world must come to you on your terms. Power does not announce itself. It disguises itself. The greatest mistake you can make in a world of wolves is to show your fangs too early. A real strategist never reveals his strength until it is time to strike. He wears charm the way a swordsman wears armor, not to impress, but to protect. The world is a stage, and you cannot survive it with honesty alone. Truth, in the wrong environment, is suicide. The strong do not always win by force, they win by illusion. You must learn to wear the mask. Not the mask of lies, but the mask of control. To appear predictable when you are calculating. To look harmless when you are preparing. To seem loyal when you are watching. The mask is not weakness, it is strategy. It allows you to observe without being suspected, to listen without being measured, to learn without being threatened. The dog cannot do this. It wears its emotions on its face, joy, fear, guilt, all visible to anyone watching. Its honesty is its undoing. The world reads it like an open book, then writes the ending for it. But the wolf shows nothing. Its eyes give away no fear, no excitement, no hesitation. That blankness is power. Because uncertainty breeds respect. People trust what they can predict, and they fear what they can't. The moment they can no longer read you, they begin to step carefully around you. They start giving you space, waiting for your move. That is the beginning of psychological dominance. You must learn to control perception, not just reaction. Because in this world, power is not about what you are, it's about what they believe you are. If they see you as desperate, they will ignore you. If they see you as dependent, they will use you. If they see you as dangerous, they will respect you. So never let your hunger show. Never let your wounds become visible. Hide your struggle behind composure. Smile when you are plotting. Listen when you are angry. Be calm when they expect rage, and silent when they expect answers. That is how you unnerve them. Because people fear what they cannot categorize. This is the duality of power, the mask and the blade. The mask is what the world sees. The blade is what you keep hidden. The mask wins you access. The blade keeps you alive. You cannot swing the blade at everyone, that's recklessness. You cannot live without the blade, that's weakness. True mastery is knowing when to hide it and when to use it. You have to understand, manipulation is not evil when used with precision. It's a tool of control, no different from a weapon or a contract. The ones who call it wrong are usually those who want to manipulate you without resistance. When you can guide emotion, you can guide behavior. When you can guide behavior, you can guide destiny. You don't fight for control, you design it. To do this, you must become a mirror. Reflect what others want to see until they reveal who they truly are. Because people don't show their truth when confronted, they show it when comfortable. And comfort is something you can manufacture. Learn their language, their fears, their weaknesses. Find what they crave: approval, validation, status, love, then learn how to withhold it. Control is not gained by force, it's gained by scarcity. If they need you to feel valuable, you own their emotions. If they fear losing you, you own their loyalty. If they depend on your approval, you own their behavior. This is the quiet art of domination. The wolf never wastes energy on barking. It controls through presence, not volume. When it walks into a room, it does not announce itself, the silence does that for it. Its calmness is not peace. It's preparation. You must learn that silence, too. Learn to be comfortable letting others speak, reveal, and boast, while you collect information and build leverage. Because the man who speaks least often knows the most. And the one who listens well commands the loudest minds. Do not aim to be loved, aim to be respected. Love fades when you stop feeding it. Respect endures when you stop explaining it. Charm is the bait, power is the trap. If they underestimate you, let them. If they mock you, let them. If they think you're harmless, perfect. It only makes the strike cleaner when it comes. A true Machiavellian mind never wastes cruelty, it delivers it precisely, at the right time, for maximum effect. A single, well-timed act of dominance will achieve more than 1,000 words of persuasion. People remember fear longer than kindness. They respect restraint more than aggression. And they trust consistency more than emotion. So when you do strike, do it once, cleanly, and never explain. Let silence bury the echo. Let mystery do the rest. That's how kings are made. Not through endless battles, but through controlled displays of power that remind everyone where they stand. You cannot be everyone's friend and still command respect. You cannot seek approval and still expect obedience. Choose which you value more, comfort or control. You cannot have both. The wolf hides its blade because it understands timing is power. You will learn this too, that your greatest advantage is unpredictability. When they think you're broken, that's when you rebuild. When they think you're asleep, that's when you watch. When they think you've lost, that's when you strike. That's the balance between the mask and the blade. One hides your intentions, the other enforces them. Master both and you'll never need to raise your voice again. You have walked through obedience. You have stripped away loyalty. You have endured solitude. You have mastered deception. Now you stand at the final stage, the throne of shadows. This is where power no longer needs noise, where control no longer needs confrontation. Here, the world bends not because you demand it, but because it understands that your will does not bend. This is the level where emotion becomes weaponized, where silence becomes a form of speech, where every movement, even your stillness, carries meaning. The dog chases approval. The wolf commands attention. But the one who sits on the throne of shadows, he no longer needs either. Because he has transcended validation. He understands that being liked is irrelevant. That being understood is optional. That being respected is inevitable. You reach this point not by becoming louder but by becoming so focused that the world has no choice but to adjust itself around you. The weak waste energy fighting everything. The strong conserve energy by directing it precisely where it matters. That's how kings move, not impulsively, but deliberately. Every word you speak, every silence you hold, becomes a calculated move on a chessboard. You do not argue. You do not explain. You command with the quiet authority of someone who no longer needs validation to act. This is how real power operates, unseen, unannounced, and undeniable. You do not tell people what you are. You make them feel it. You let your results whisper what your ego once screamed. Because those who truly rule never chase recognition. They allow time to announce them. From the outside, people will call you cold, detached, unfeeling. They will say you've changed. But what they're really saying is this: you are no longer controllable. They miss the old version of you, or the dog they could guilt, flatter, or command. They hate the new one, the wolf who doesn't need them anymore. Let them hate. Their resentment is proof of your evolution. You've learned that emotion, when ungoverned, is the leash that pulls men to ruin. You've learned that mercy without calculation breeds betrayal. And you've learned that power is not about domination, it's about discipline. Anyone can be feared for a moment. Few can command respect for a lifetime. That requires restraint, the strength to destroy without needing to. It's not about what you can do. It's about what you choose not to do. The fool believes strength is shown through aggression. The strategist knows strength is shown through control. You do not reveal anger, you redirect it. You do not seek revenge, you design it. You do not crave attention, you cultivate mystique. Mystique, that invisible aura that surrounds those who have mastered themselves. It's what makes others pause before they speak to you, what makes them second-guess before they challenge you, what makes them study your face for clues you'll never give. The greatest advantage you can ever possess is opacity. The less they know, the more they imagine. And the more they imagine, the more they fear. You have become that, a man of quiet power. No longer the dog begging for recognition, no longer the wolf howling for dominance, but something beyond both, a sovereign shadow. You do not chase anything now. Not people. Not praise. Not understanding. You attract by your gravity. You lead by your example. You dominate by your silence. That is the throne of shadows, the place where your composure is your weapon and your restraint is your crown. Here, you understand that chaos serves you if you know how to harness it. You no longer react to provocation, you let it reveal others. You no longer explain your choices, you let your outcomes justify them. Every man who rises must one day rule himself. Because the greatest kingdom is internal, discipline over impulse, clarity over confusion, patience over rage. And when that kingdom is secured, everything outside eventually aligns to it. You are no longer chasing peace. You are peace. And that terrifies those who live in constant noise. They will test you with betrayal, disrespect, provocation. Smile at them. Watch quietly. Let them think you are still the same. And when the time comes, end it cleanly. Never with emotion, always with precision. The wolf doesn't kill for pleasure. It kills for necessity. That's why it survives. Understand this: control is not about oppressing others. It's about mastering yourself so deeply that no one else ever can. And when you reach that state, you stop fighting for power, because you have become it. This is your evolution from dog, loyal, obedient, afraid to stand alone. To wolf, strategic, fearless, free. To shadow, calm, unreadable, unstoppable. The dog begs. The wolf hunts. The shadow rules. That is the order of ascension. That is the Machiavellian path. So when they ask, what happened to you? Tell them nothing happened. You simply remembered who you were before they taught you to forget. And when they demand to know what you want now, say nothing. Because those who truly hold power never need to explain it. They just live it. The dog obeys. The wolf learns. The shadow commands. And now, you command.